happy little games. Even as a young peckerwood growing up in the cornfields of Illinois, the era of the Wild Wild West always appealed to me. My favorite, of course, was the Lone Ranger, and I always imagined throwing Tonto out of the group and taking his spot. I had my 6-shooters, mask, and cowboy hat just like my Western hero. As I got older, I discovered comic books and video games. One of the first arcade games I can recall playing was Gunfight, which was the first arcade game based on the Old West. This would see 1 or 2 players shoot across the screen at the other, trying to avoid the obstacles that could potentially block your shots. Another favorite Western-themed video game of mine was Gunsmoke, which is way overdue for having its own dedicated video. This Capcom shooter was not based on the long-running TV show as the title would suggest, but regardless, it was fantastic and brutally difficult for my 13-year-old self. Today, we are not talking about anything from the arcade. The game we are talking about is the third-person light gun shooter that didn't require a light gun, Natsume's Spectacular Wild Guns. What arcade game inspired the creation of this game? So grab your 6-shooters and get ready to fire, because this is the history of Wild Guns. The company of Natsume was founded in 1987. They started developing games for the original NES and MSX line of computers. In its lifetime, they released over 60 titles for numerous systems, with the most well-known of these being the Harvest Moon series, the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series, and Gene Davis the Fishing Master. Prior to the release of Wild Guns, the company released a couple of my favorite Super Nintendo titles, including the Ninja Warriors, and Natsume Championship Wrestling. In late 1993, the higher-ups at Natsume wanted a video game for the Super Nintendo that could be developed and put on store shelves within 5 months. They wanted something that could be done cheap and quick, so they assigned a team to work on a concept right away. Because Natsume wanted to keep costs down, the team consisted of only 3 people: designer Shinichi Taniguchi, programmer Toshiyasu Miyabi, and composer Hiroyuki Iwatsuki. Mr. Taniguchi had been a huge fan of the arcade game Dynamite Duke, while Mr. Miyabi was a big fan of the Western-themed arcade game Blood Brothers. They decided to combine their visions and create a similar pseudo 3D shooting gallery style game. The first arcade game to use this style was 1988's Cabal, which was set in Vietnam and was actually the precursor to the previously mentioned Blood Brothers. Another one to use this style was SNK's Nam 75 for the Neo Geo. The development crew were fans of the spaghetti western starring Clint Eastwood and wanted to pay homage to the man with no name. To appeal to the female audience, they decided to include a female character by the name of Annie. Annie is a direct reference to Annie Oakley, who was a sharpshooter from the 1800s. She was so good with her gun she could change a rooster to a hen with one shot. Aside from one character wearing a dress and having an ample bosom to boot, they play exactly the same. Wild Guns is a simultaneous 1 or 2 player affair and was released by Natsume for the Super Nintendo in 1994. As the story goes, the young and beautiful Annie goes to see Clint, who is a renowned space bounty hunter. Her entire family has been abducted and killed by the Kid Gang. She persuades Clint to help her out in her fight to make them pay for what they've done. This is a 1 or 2 player game with the choice of playing as either Clint or Annie. If you don't like the colors of your character's outfit, you have 4 options upon startup. If you do select 2-player mode, you can both choose the same character, which does provide some alternate text in the intro. The rootin' tootin' cowboy action takes place across 6 western-themed steampunk levels. As I mentioned, this is a light gun game that doesn't require a light gun. You control the crosshair, moving it around the screen, shooting everything that moves. Initially, the development team had the crosshair locked to just horizontal movements and you moving your character left and right. They found this didn't work very well and changed it to what we know and love today. The controls are fairly simple, with you pressing Y to fire, X to throw bombs, and B to jump. You also have a lasso you can use to temporarily stun enemies. There are various power-ups to shoot along the way, including gold, silver, and blue rocks for increased points. You can also temporarily upgrade your gun, which includes a shotgun, machine gun, pop gun, grenade gun, and the Vulcan gun. This is the most powerful weapon in the game and can be achieved by filling up the bar at the bottom of the screen. The more enemies you shoot, the more it fills up. If you are using the Vulcan gun, you are invincible. One cool aspect of the game is that everything in the background can be shot, allowing for a much more interactive experience while playing the game. There is nothing better than going into the saloon and blasting everything inside, including the lights and all the signs. In addition to running left and right to avoid the various oncoming projectiles, you do have a couple of defensive moves such as the sideways jump, double jump, and the sideways slide. I'm not sure if the boot scootin' boogie is included or not. The enemies are pretty relentless, shooting you with their various guns and sometimes throwing dynamite your way. Luckily, you can pick up the dynamite and ruin their day by throwing it back at them. Because the action is so fast and furious and the bullets are flying like the south side of Chicago, a little pop-up will appear above your head when you are getting ready to take a hit, telling you to look out. This game is total carnage personified, and I like it. Every other stage is a bonus round, which is a straight-up shooting gallery in which you take out the rolling boulders, barrels, and cardboard cutouts of the dastardly criminals that litter this game. By default, the very first level you start on is Carson City. After this, you have a choice of which level to proceed to next. The only level which cannot be picked is the final level, which you need to complete all other levels before proceeding on to this one. The levels you encounter are Carson City, Desolation Canyon, Ammunition Depot, Gold Mine, Armored Truck, and the final fight. The bosses you encounter are Big Bertha, Desert Storm, Dungeness, Crystallian, Armored Express, and finally the head of the Kid Gang. If you manage to defeat the Kid Gang, you are treated to a quick ending with some rather excellent music playing in the background. The graphics are extremely nice, especially for a 16-bit title. There is lots of action and little slowdown even in 2-player mode with all the bullets flying and background destruction. The bosses are huge, sometimes almost filling up the entire screen. The sound effects and music are great, which sounds like a cross between Mega Man and something from the year 1883. The concept sounds strange, but it definitely works. The game was released towards the end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan, so it didn't make that big of a splash. The collector market has taken notice of the game, with the cartridge itself selling for $300 to $400 and box copies selling for well over $1,000. In 2010, the game was released on the Wii Virtual Console. In 2016, Wild Guns Reloaded was released for the PlayStation 4. This could be considered Wild Guns 1.5 as it features a fresh coat of paint with its HD graphics and widescreen support. Along with the returning Clint and Annie, we are given 2 new characters to play as. Whereas Clint and Annie were just gender swaps who played identically, we are treated to a couple of new characters, including Doris, who was large and in charge, but instead of using guns, she throws grenades for long-range damage. The other new character is Bullet, who is, believe it or not, a dachshund. This crazy puppy doesn't carry a gun, however he does have a hovering drone which will auto-lock on the enemies. Since there are 4 characters to choose from, we also get 4 player simultaneous action, which is a lot of fun and really becomes hectic but in a good way. Along with the 2 new characters, there are a couple of new levels, including Underground, which is a horror-themed stage, as well as Flying Ship, which is an aerial enemy fortress. There are also some new weapons to pick up, including a laser gun. A rather cool unlockable is the original Super Nintendo's music, although the new stuff is quite good as well. The game initially launched for the PlayStation 4 and has since been released on Steam and the Nintendo Switch. While making this video, I noticed that the game is currently selling for $15 on Steam. This is a heck of a deal, especially if you enjoyed the original. Wild Guns is a fantastic multiplayer Wild West shoot 'em up. If it had been released earlier in the lifespan of the Super Nintendo, perhaps it would have achieved greater success, but that doesn't stop it from being a great game. If you've ever wanted to live on the days of yesteryear and you've never had the chance, be sure and check this game out. You'll be glad you did. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, if you would like to support me on Patreon, please click the link below. Thanks everybody so much for watching.